Welcome to Trading Lounge and the US indices, and starting with the S&P here on the 4-hour chart. Now, as you know, we've got a few different counts for this particular market, and we need to have a look at them. And because we have different counts, we need to have different strategies as well. So we want to be prepared to be short at the right time. We also want to be prepared to be long at the right time. We don't want to be caught off guard. We need to be on the right side at the right time. So this is pretty much our count at the moment, our primary count, and it's complicated, and and it's got more to go as well. So it's not an easy task to trade or to analyze, but let's dive in and have a little bit of a look at this. So from intermediate wave 3 here, we're moving down to intermediate wave 4. We're looking at an A wave. We're looking at a B wave as a triangle. Triangles tend to form in wave 4s or B waves, or they could be in triangles within triangles, such as a triangle in wave B or even in wave D. So this is where we are at the moment. We've been tracking this little move up here, as you know, and let's just expand that and talk about that for a moment. So last time we spoke, we were looking at a low in here. So we're expecting an ABC bounce here, which we've got now, and then we're pretty much drawing a line under the support here, and any breach of that from here on in, we can look to short. And if that's going to be the case, then we can look at the market moving down further. So from this low here to this high here, the 61.8% is down at the 2650 area through there. So that's something that we can look at in terms of targets. Of course, the 2700 here is going to play out as a support as well, but we can drill in and have a look at that. But just to get the general idea here, from wave C here is an A and a B and a C for wave D, and then an A and a B and a C for wave E of B, and then down for wave C here. So yes, just bear with me one moment. So from this point here, just to sort of resolve this little space in here, we can go straight to the tick chart and just move into it from here. So from this top area here, don't worry about the labeling so much, that was the top, and last time we spoke we were looking down, we had 5 waves here, so we were looking for some sort of corrective rally, and this move here, so we've got this now, and it appears from this high here, it appears that we have 5 waves down from this point now, so that would mean that this correction has ended now, so we would see this market move down here further. So we need to look for triggers at this point for the downside. We'll also be looking at trades to the long side as well. So in the first instance here, if this move here is in 5 waves here, in terms of wave 1 into here somewhere to there, then wave 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 here for the and this is all the 4th wave and the 5th wave here. So this does look rather impulsive coming up here. So from that high to this low, this is the 61.8% area, and also where the volume was turned over here, the resistance supply rather, and and then from this low to this high, this is the 61.8% here as well. So really these two here are our sort of important bands here. So support on top of this would send the market higher, and this low here as resistance here, let's just give that a name there in terms of a number, 2715. If that becomes the retested resistance, then you can look to short from that point there, and we can move that over here. So the short trade would be, I need to draw over this side, I can't draw on this side with this particular tool. So the market would come down like it has done, it would bounce back up here as it has done, and then eventually it would move through, then it would come back up and retest, and the trigger 1 point below the low here, put that order in, and if that gets triggered, well then you're on your way at that point. Then the sellers will be in control and you're on the right side. So that's what you do at this point here to work lower. This looks like an impulse wave up here, and this looks like a little corrective wave in here. So this being an A wave and a B wave and a C wave coming into this space here. So it's quite possible, I have to draw on the inside here, that we can get another move of 5 waves up here before we see a downturn coming into play here. Okay, it won't let me draw past that point, so that's why that looks a bit odd. Yeah, so we're still paying. The other point, this low here is significant as well. A breach of this and would certainly be on a way as well, but you can expect a bounce off group 1. This is 2700, so group 1 is 10, 20 and 30, so it's always choppy within this market here. And if we get a nice support on top of 30 here, 27, 30, top of subgroup 1, well then we need to be long at that point. Okay, so that's trading level stuff, and that's important. The 272 here, as I try to mention as much as possible, when you get 272 or 277 together, those pair of numbers seem to play out as very significant. As we can see here, it's really the backbone of the group 1 here. So that said, let's have a look at the bullish count. So we can go, I'll just start on the daily chart here. So the other count we can have here is that from wave 3 here, we have an A and a B and a C and a D and an E. So there's no problems with that. We do have 5 waves up here. So do we have any of these? Yeah, so we can call this wave 1 here, and we can call this wave 2, which is 61.8% mark here, okay, and then 3 and so on. But so in this case here, we'll still be expecting downside, the same thing here. We do have 5 waves up here. Those 5 waves here, I'm not quite satisfied with those because the extension's in the 5th wave rather than the 3rd wave. So we'll talk about that too, and also come up with another alternative. So we'll have 2 alternative bullish waves. But in this case here, we can be looking at an A wave here, B wave here, a C wave down here, and then moving up from here. So on the hourly chart, we can look at that particular pattern, which we have been. So in this case here, we would look up at wave 1, and then an A wave, a B wave, and then down for a C wave here. Now, even though that this is our target all the way down here, there's normally some sort of equality in terms of distance between the A wave here and, copy that, put that over here, in terms of wave C. So it's possible to have, copy text, it's possible to have that there, and then we would need to look at this here as wave 1. So wave 1, back for wave 2 roughly. Wave 3 would vibrate across here a bit at the 2700, poke lower, come back up, find support, and then move up from there. So that's really possible at that point. So yeah, we've got to take that on board. So as I mentioned here, a bit concerned about this particular move up through here in terms of wave 1 and 2 is fine, wave 3 is fine, wave 4 is fine, and then we've got that extension in wave 5 here. So that's okay, and that's workable, but because the extension's in the 5th wave here, we also need to take a look at perhaps counting this particular structure here different. So in that case, we'll just go to the 2-hour chart here, and in this case here, it can count like this here. So wave 1 here, wave 2 here, then 1 and 2, and then a nice strong 3rd wave here, and then a 4th wave coming into play, and then looking higher from there, because we've already pulled back to our 38.2% retracement levels. So from wave 2 top to wave 3 here, the 38 is here, so sitting on the 2700 is the 50, so we wouldn't want to be seeing wave 4 go any lower than this here. So if this market does move down through the 2700 here, we know that this count here, this alternative count, is wrong. But at the same time, we need to look at it as a possible 5 waves up here, and then taking that top out through here would trigger the long trade here. But also that would be on, as I mentioned before, that would be on the support of 2730. So that's the top of group 1. So just grab these here, copy that. So that's 30, 20 roughly, and 10 in here, which make up group 1 in here. So support on top of group 1 would separate the order flow from being pulled back from 27, and they'll start setting orders higher at the 50 there. So we just want to be ready for both sides of this market at this stage here, because we're working through a possible large triangle in this market. We've got a couple of variations of these triangles, so we really need to be on our toes here and look for those trade signals. So far we've been doing okay. We've traded up, we're looking for a top, we're looking for 5 waves down here. It doesn't count very well as 5 waves down here. It can certainly be counted as an ABC. This little move up here can also be counted as 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 up here. So that can be counted if I go back to the tick chart here. So from here, we can look at this. Let me just, I better check the cash market before I open my gob too much. Let's just check that. Yep, it can be counted on the cash market. It can be counted 5 ways. You'll just have to have a look at that. I haven't taken a screenshot of that, but that's okay at this point. But if this is breached here, then we can rule out that particular count. I'd also need to go to the NASDAQ as well and have a look at that, because that would be in the same boat as well. We've got this is just a 4-hour chart here. We've done all the right things here as well, but in this instance here, we can have this as a slightly different count, because this move down through here has stayed above this low here, where on the other markets, the S&P and some other markets, this has actually made a new low down here. So, but it's okay to count this as up for 1 here, an A and a B and a C for wave 2 here, then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the same as the S&P 500. So it's okay to have this as wave 4 coming back into the 6,800 here. You can short the low here, because if this count is wrong and the S&P is right, and we do go further down, well then we'd want to be going short from that particular low there, okay? So you could bring that up a little bit in here as well. You can work that. Yeah, but otherwise, yeah, so traders can take that down to the in the first instance to the 6.8 here, because there will be a bounce off the 6.8. Make no mistake about that. So yeah, you want to take that money at that particular point. And yeah, I mean, if it was going to move higher from this point here as well, then we would also be looking at the 7,000, would be looking for the arrival, which we've got here. Then the reaction. We don't know if the reaction is just this one here, and then we've got 1 and 2 and 3 and moving up here, or we're going to get this scenario here, an A and a B and a C wave to here, and then moving up. But if that's the case, then we'd move up in 5 waves here, and then we'd have a larger correction coming into play here before we moved up. So we'd need to migrate from resistance to support. So we've got a long time over here before we go long again over here in that regard. And if it does move up from here, then it'll just be 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 up here. But otherwise we need to look for an A and a B and a C wave down to here. And also this, if this becomes the resistance here, in terms of a bounce off there, coming back and checking it, reference point low here for the trigger down, then we can look at 6,500 in line with the S&P if that moves down. And to support that on the NASDAQ side, we've got Alphabet here, the A shares here, I think they are, yes, and there's different ways to look at this as well, but certainly we're in a correction here, and this wave wave A, so if I take this top here down to this wave A here, then wave B would pull back to the 61.8% mark here, which it has done pretty well spot on here. So This little move up through here in this market, I'm just going to clear this out of the way now. This little move from the low coming up here is corrective, and this is corrective, and this is impulsive here. So it makes a nice fit for an A wave, a B wave, and a C wave here. We can see that it's coming and testing the lows here already. So there may be a little push up into here first, and then down through here, and we'll be looking at this moving down in 5 waves here. So really this here, just to put that in perspective here, let me just check on maybe in hourly chart. Let me just check on this. So we can see we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up here, that extension in the 5th wave, that's going to be the case. We can see we've got wave 1 here, wave 2, nice strong 3rd wave coming down into here to the next session of 4th wave here. It's a bit difficult when there's gaps in the market and it's got the after hours thing here, so you've got to kind of estimate it a little bit. But if there was going to be a rally here, so I think that we've got 1 and 2 and 3 down, probably down to this point here or this point, and then an A and a B and a C wave here, and then down for the 5th wave. The 5th wave should be roughly the same length as this one here. We've had a bit of a retest of this number here, but it's possible to get another retest in here as an A and a B and a C wave here, but it's always tricky to say. Certainly we need to be looking at the short side because of this move down through here. So taking out this low here would be fine, but if it had a rally back through here, then you'd need to look at that, the A wave, the B wave low here, and then drop through that way. And if it came through that way, then it would move through like this and move down through here. So keep an eye on Google as well. Amazon, I don't know. I've got different counts for this as well. It's moving in its own way here, but what I've sort of summarized here at the end of the day here, because of the bullish aspect and the bearish aspect, is that on the daily chart, which this bar is here, you can go long off the top and you can go short off the bottom here. That's where it's sort of point. This is just the tick chart for Amazon, and we've hit the 1650, which is a medium level, and the move down here can be counted as an A and a B and a C to this point here. It also can be counted a little bit, counted a little bit differently, but I'll just follow this through here as an A and a B and a C to this low point here, then 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 here, then an A and a B and a C wave here. Okay, so this could turn into a 5-wave move to the downside, so 1 and 2 and 3 here and 4 here, and then moving down for 5 here. So it's possible to have this copy, put this one over here for wave 4, and if it breaks this low, here, then we know that it's bearish at that time. But also what I've done here is we can move this trigger up into this space here. This does appear to have 5 waves down through to here, but that can simply be part of an A and a B and a C for the upside here. So 5 waves up here, an A and a B and a C wave here, and then moving up from there. So whichever way I look at it, bullish or bearish, it's really coming down to this high and this low point here. So you can play within this space. Obviously, if 16 becomes the support, then definitely move long from that point, but that will be the resistance to the upside here. And this pattern here that I've got can be counted bearish as well here, in terms of this C wave being up here on this space here. So yeah, just not quite sure just yet with any of these markets, and they're not sort of fitting in. But yeah, if you were looking to trade this, then that high or that low would be the wake up call to be on that side of the market. But obviously, if you're going to the long side, you'd really want that 16 to be. You don't really want to go long on here, because it's only going to hit the 16 and drop back again as well. So the same old pattern to the upside again as well. The arrival, the reaction, the first high above the level, and then a corrective move, and then if it sits on there, then you can look at these highs being taken out here. The same as here, if that was a high here to be triggered, then you can bring it down, and then you can bring it down to this one here. And if it gets triggered, well, that's fine. If it doesn't, well, then it doesn't. But you need to take those triggers, and that's what we're looking for in this case here as well. All right, I'll leave it at that. Thanks for tuning in. Cheers.